What do these discoveries mean? And if a Dyson sphere is out there, or several out there, how intelligent would an alien race have to be to pull off something so incredibly complex?
What could be the ultimate answer to the energy challenges faced by an advanced civilization? Renowned physicist Freeman Dyson proposed that it might be a structure composed of mirrors or solar panels that fully encircles a star, capturing all of its energy output. However, the physicist later clarified that a megastructure like that would actually be a loose collection or swarm of objects, moving on independent orbits around the star. Dyson had also noted that such spheres would emit waste heat detectable as infrared radiation, and proposed that searching for this byproduct could be an effective way to look for extraterrestrial life. He said, and I quote, "It would be much more rewarding to search directly for intelligence, but technology is the only thing we have any chance of seeing." Recently, a team of scientists specifically embarked on a mission to search for Dyson spheres by looking for unexplained infrared heat near stars. This initiative, named Project Hephaestos, after the Greek god of fire and metallurgy, aims to identify potential Dyson sphere constructions by advanced civilizations. In their study, the scientists detail a thorough investigation into partial Dyson spheres using data from Gaia, 2MASS, and WISE, which are extensive astronomical surveys serving various purposes. The analysis involved a vast amount of data from individual stars, with approximately 5 million sources examined in this particular paper to construct a catalogue of potential Dyson spheres. But sorting through such a vast amount of data is a daunting task, and so the research team devised a specialized data pipeline for this purpose, capable of processing the combined data from the surveys. Their objective is to identify partially constructed spheres, which would emit additional infrared radiation. However, identifying these structures is challenging, as various natural objects also emit excess infrared radiation, such as circumstellar dust rings, nebulae, and background galaxies. And so they designed the pipeline in such a way that it can separate potential Dyson sphere candidates from natural sources. But that is just the first step. After filtering out the natural sources from the unusual ones, the team then examined the remaining list of candidates more closely, considering factors such as hydrogen alpha emissions, optical variability, and astrometry. After this initial screening, they found that only 368 sources remained. Now among these, 328 were later discarded due to blending with other sources. That leaves us with 40 potential sources, but further scrutiny brought the number down even more. 29 were rejected for irregular behavior, and 4 were discarded as they appeared to be nebulae. This left just 7 potential Dyson sphere candidates out of the approximately 5 million initial objects. The scientists are confident in the legitimacy of these 7 candidates, as they all exhibit clear mid-infrared emissions without any apparent contaminators or signatures, indicating a different origin for the mid-infrared radiation. After analyzing the optical, near-infrared and mid-infrared photometry of 5 million sources, we found 7 apparent M dwarfs exhibiting an infrared excess of unclear nature that is compatible with our Dyson sphere models, the scientists wrote in their conclusion. There are natural explanations for the excess infrared coming from these 7, but none of them clearly explain such a phenomenon in the candidates, especially given that all are M dwarfs. Follow-up optical observations would definitely help understand the 7 sources better. What is their true nature? Are these really Dyson spheres under construction, or are these M dwarf stars?
We're talking about the possibility of detecting these things. What kind of technosignature are we looking for? What do we need to be scanning for to see if somebody or someone out there has already come up with this?
Scientists from 2 different studies think that we may have already detected technosignatures from a technological civilization's Dyson spheres.
Well, 2 groups of astronomers, as you pointed out, they've identified about 60 candidates for type 2 Dyson spheres. Now, how do you do that? by looking for infrared signatures. Stars usually blast out a tremendous amount of visible light that lights up the night sky. Infrared radiation is pretty much invisible, but it's a byproduct of heat. And so the heat generated by the star would eventually heat up the Dyson sphere. The Dyson sphere itself starts to heat up to emit infrared radiation. And bingo, by looking at the galaxy, we have found about 60 candidates emitting infrared radiation. So who knows? Maybe there's another Star Trek Enterprise out there wondering whether or not they should visit the planet Earth, or are we too backward?
Well, whenever a theory like this comes forward, it receives a lot of criticism. But what is science if you are not open to challenging the boundaries of our understanding? And although the chances of this having a natural explanation is higher, let's just assume what if these are actual Dyson spheres? That would mean that life originated in the universe much earlier than here on Earth. New observations made by the Webb telescope while looking at a galaxy far, far away points towards a fascinating possibility. Yes, you heard it right. The James Webb Space Telescope has discovered carbon, the fundamental building block of life when the universe was in its infancy, thereby challenging what the standard model predicts. It found a cloud of carbon in the galaxy GSZ 12, visible as it was just 350 million years after the Big Bang. This finding marks the earliest detection of an element other than hydrogen in the universe. Earlier research suggested that carbon started to form in large quantities relatively late, about 1 billion years after the Big Bang, said co-author Roberta Maiolino. But we found that carbon formed much earlier. It might even be the oldest metal of all. However, wait till you find out what the lead author of the discovery said. Now, astronomers group elements heavier than hydrogen and helium together as metals. Until now, it was believed that it would require numerous generations of stars to create a sufficient quantity of heavy elements, crucial for the formation of planets. However, this recent discovery may shatter this long-held belief. Scientists used Webb's NIRSPEC instrument to observe the galaxy and found traces of oxygen and neon mixed with a strong signal of carbon. While the precise mechanism behind the early formation of carbon in the universe remains uncertain, researchers suggest that it may be linked to stars collapsing with less energy than previously assumed. This lower energy collapse could have allowed carbon formed in the star's outer layers to escape rather than being consumed by the black holes resulting from the star's collapse. This earlier dispersal of carbon could have played a role in seeding the early universe sooner than anticipated. These observations tell us that carbon can be enriched quickly in the early universe, said lead author Francesco D'Eugenio. And because carbon is fundamental to life as we know it, it's not necessarily true that life must have evolved much later in the universe. Perhaps life emerged much earlier, although if there's life elsewhere in the universe, it might have evolved very differently than it did here on Earth. So long story short, the presence of carbon so early in the universe's history suggests the possibility of life arriving earlier, way earlier than we thought was possible. And if that really happened, it means that some of the civilizations got a head start and evolved to become an advanced civilization way beyond our comprehension. And it may very well be their Dyson spheres that we are detecting. What do you guys have to say?